people were predisposed to like him and like the story and root for the story and root for the kid from Brownsville to make the old Italian trainer an immortal. That was the first component. The second thing is were the knockouts themselves.
Yeah.
The way they worked on this new medium, videotape. They're devastating. I mean, Trevor Berbick falls in each corner of the ring.
It's one of the most amazing knockouts of
but there's something, horrible, grotesque, but like, wow, I want to see it again.
Yeah.
And you accumulate enough of these, and you do what Tyson's handlers did, which was ingenious at the time. You compile them. You put them on a VCR tape. You send the tape. Now people had like VCRs, right? You send the tape to every sports editor and local sports anchor in America, and they have like some downtime. They play it. You got whatever it is, like 3.5, 4 minutes to fill in your broadcast for sports. You come short one night. Look at this kid. Look how he's knocking everyone out. And everyone sees them. And the other element was, we were talking before that you can't really understand America without understanding professional wrestling. You certainly can't understand politics,
Yeah.
Okay? And what wrestlers call a promo, when you grab the mic and you start talking shit or whatever you do. When you put the mic in front of Tyson and you've just seen this type of destruction, and now you hear this high-pitched voice, and you go, "Wait, hold on,
Yeah.
wait, what's going on? What is this? What
With
is
a
this?"
lisp, yeah.
With a lisp,
Yeah.
And then what he says, "I'm going to eat your children," or
Yeah, but rip your heart out. Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
and you stop, you go, "Whoa," and what wrestlers call, and politicians probably should too, getting over. That got Tyson over in a way that we've never gotten over.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's fascinating that way, all those quotes that, and I think probably the quote that I come up against most frequently, and I actually asked somebody recently, is it real? And I think, Jason, you told me it was from Sports Illustrated, that everybody has a plan until they're punched in the mouth.
Well, that's been improved.
That has been proved.
That has been improved.
Improved, okay.
Quote.
Yeah.
I don't think that's not the
verbatim quote. No,
it was something about
to that,
but it got boiled down to
yeah.
It's most efficient.
That's
and
yeah. But
it was something. It's in the book, but it's like everybody has a plan until they. I forget.
Yeah.
But you condense
sentiment
it.
Is the good one, right? But in this book, I mean,
you're not going to beat Eat Your Children, though.
No, we do a lot of politics in this podcast. But if go ahead.
I'm sorry. One of the things that's intriguing and adds another layer. All right, I'm going to eat your children. Everyone's an easy lay for that. Okay, it's funny, blah. Yeah. But what had happened was a kid he did time with at Spofford, a dear friend of his, had just been killed.
Yeah.
A sort of legendary stick-up kid named Darrell Baum, homicide. And Tyson was grieving. So he was off his rocker with grief. It wasn't just selling the next fight and talking about Lennox Lewis. It was a typical Tyson moment in that there was this sort of outrageous comedic element to it. Everyone was going to go, "Oh my God, can you believe he said that?"
Yeah.
But underneath it, there's something more humane, more vulnerable, and more nuts. And there's something grieving about it too.
I mean, he's almost a perfect example. There's nothing complex about it in the sense that this is what happens when you grow up with no parents, no father, a mother who basically doesn't care about you. I mean, has sex in the bed next to you. I mean, he actually refers to them both as being in the sex industry, his father and his mother. I don't know why he said both. But, and you grow up on the streets. Right. And so now you get raised by Cus D'Amato in upstate New York and his Ukrainian wife.
He was raised by Cus to some extent.
To some extent, right?
There was a famous...
But he cries every time he talks about him. Nearly every time. But do you not buy that?
No, I buy it. I believe he loves Cus. I mean, when I spoke to him, I said, "Hey, Mike, man, I don't think like Cus necessarily did you, nothing but favors. I mean, you take a kid out of lockup, you put him under hypnosis and tell him he's a scourge from God. Is that really like the best way to go about this?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think, in my heart, I have no doubt that D'Amato, who was an egomaniac himself, and this, for all the talk about fighters' egos, this is a story set into motion by the ego of the trainer.
You're the first person I've actually read to say that, actually. I mean, you don't see that often. He's this sainted figure and this sweet old man. And he's a sweet old man. He's a genius, but he's also, there's an element that's batshit crazy too, and paranoid. Yeah.
And I think Mike understands too how paranoid he was. You know, he was still like thinking about the mob.
Yeah.
Like, hey, pal, it's 1980. There's no mob like that anymore. Not where you live in Catskill.
Yeah.
But I said, Mike, this is like a Faustian bargain. He's not taking you out of lockup to save you or to rehabilitate you per se, or to maybe we'll get you a GED. We'll see how you do in the gloves. Maybe you'll turn pro one day. Maybe you'll be fighting for a title one day. No, from the very beginning, it's a 13-year-old kid who comes to him. Okay.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, you're going to be the youngest, the greatest, the most feared, the most this, the most that. And what he's saying,
all of which turned out to be true. Yeah.
What he's saying is, make me live forever. Make me immortal. You 13-year-old kid, make me immortal.
Yeah.
And so Tyson pushes back on this when I say this. Somebody goes, well, didn't I? And of course he did. My question is, at what price? Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, and that doesn't mean that he didn't save Tyson either. They're not, you know, mutually exclusive, but they are psychologically complicated.
The political figures in this book, there's a great bit about Al Sharpton, who's involved in drug stings, and he's like ratting it to the FBI about stuff. Talk a little bit about that kind of milieu where you have...
It was the 80s. It was nuts.
Crazy, right? This is what I'm thinking. Like, you have Al Sharpton. You have a moment when, you know, Jesse Jackson is like baptizing him. Yeah, and, you know, he has all of these figures of the 80s are circulating around.
But Don, by the way, like, you know, Sharpton and Don are going to, like, Sharpton and Don King are going to Trump's book party for Art of the Deal, you know. Sharpton, who I really like, and has something that politicians had then, something politicians today do not have, was a sense of humor. Like, Sharpton was a funny guy. Sharpton, like, you talking to Sharpton, you got a sense of humanity, even, you know, when you were arguing with him.
Also from Brownsville, right?
Also from Brownsville.
Yeah.
And a charismatic kid preacher.
A lot of chameleons from Brownsville.
Oh, no, I don't know a lot of, but a lot of interesting.
Sharpton's had a lot of iterations.
Right,
yeah.
But so there's this point during the FBI's eternal investigation of King, where there's a question as to whether Sharpton, you know, they're trying to entrap him or not. And he says, I was doing it, you know, I knew what I was doing. He denied everything, and it never went anywhere. And what's for certain is that the FBI agents do credit him with helping on the Genovese cases. Mm-hmm. So, and he makes no bones about that. I was being a good citizen. So it's always ambiguous. That episode with Sharpton is ambiguous, to say the least.
And the mob is involved pretty extensively in boxing. This is an 80s story. You have Michael
Don King, but Don King comes up with the mob. I mean, you know, Cleveland's like, outside of New York, Cleveland's the great mob city where Don comes from. And Don was absolutely fearless in dealing with organized crime. There was, I don't want to, I'll get back to Sharpton in a second, but King is, what's the word I want? A wonderkind? Whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's an incredibly gifted numbers guy. And he has a great brain, not just for verbosity, but but for figures as well. And he figures out a way to beat the system as a numbers guy. And he's, you know, he's one of the big 4 or big 5 numbers bosses in Cleveland at the ripe old age of like 24. Think about that. So there's a guy named Shandor Burns who scared the shit out of everybody. Brutal killer. And you're supposed to pay tribute to Shandor. And one day, Don, 24 years old, is like, no, I ain't paying. He gets firebombed. Calls the cops. I'll testify against Shandor, something no one else would do. Don had huge balls. Mm-hmm. They try to shotgun him. That's like some pellets in him. Doesn't stop him. Like, Don was tougher, smarter, more resourceful than anyone in this story.
Mm-hmm. And a total snake, too.
I'm sorry?
And a total snake, too.
Yes. But Don also, so Don had some sort of arrangement with Al. And I think that during this period in the early 80s, when Don's under investigation and Don's being surveilled, he does meet with John Gotti. He does meet with Matty the Horse Iannello. There's some other figures he meets too. You know, there are meetings with Francesi. But nothing's ever proven. But we do know, because the FBI said it, John Pritchard, a guy who passed away, I thought a really wonderful guy, said that he thought that Sharpton was bullshitting when it came to boxing, but he did provide real help with the Genovese cases. And what he's really saying is that he was kind of teasing the FBI with King. They would never really turn against King. And one of King's great amoral talents is the ability, no matter how you may have crossed with him before, if it makes financial sense, he will reform an alliance with you. For instance, by the time he goes away to prison, he's now allied with Shandor Burns. Mm-hmm. So it's a completely amoral universe that King travels in.